Unit 10, Lecture 5D. In the same month, Congress originally passed the Patriot Act. The Bush administration launched Operation Enduring Freedom, a military attack on the Taliban government of Afghanistan. The Taliban had given shelter to Osama bin Laden and allowed Al-Qaeda to train terrorists within Afghanistan's border. All right, so although American and NATO forces successfully removed the Taliban from power by about mid-2002, pockets of Taliban and Al-Qaeda resistance have continued to oppose American efforts to remove terrorists from Afghanistan and bring stability to the democratically elected government of President Hamid Karzai. All right, we're still suffering casualties today in Afghanistan, though we're looking to remove troops. All right, so while waging a war against the Taliban in 2002, the Bush administration simultaneously turned its attention towards Iraq and its dictator Saddam Hussein. So at the same time, simultaneously, at the same time. All right, George Bush claimed that Saddam Hussein's government was stockpiling weapons of mass destruction in violation of United Nations resolutions and was continuing efforts to develop nuclear bombs. Okay, these weapons of mass destruction allegedly, possibly, supposedly included both chemical and biological weapons, which President Bush argued Iraq could give terrorists for use against the United States and its allies. So in October 2002, Congress passed a resolution giving President Bush power to use military force against Iraq. We never found any weapons of mass destruction, and most of us are unclear why we are in Iraq. It had nothing to do with Al-Qaeda or the terrorist attacks on Twin Towers. All right, but anyway, this congressional resolution authorized the President to use armed forces of the United States as he determines to be necessary and appropriate in order to, one, defend the national security of the United States against continuing threat posed by Iraq, and two, enforce all relevant United Nations Security Council resolutions regarding Iraq. Okay, so after the Bush administration decided that Saddam Hussein was failing to cooperate adequately with the United Nations weapons inspector, after the Bush administration decided, not the United Nations weapons inspectors, all right, President Bush ordered the American military to invade Iraq in March 2003. The Iraqi government collapsed in April 2003, and by the end of the year, American forces had captured Saddam Hussein. However, a peaceful transfer of power failed to occur. Ethnic and religious differences emerged to divide the Iraqi people. A majority of Iraqis are Shiite Muslims. Saddam Hussein and his advisors were Sunni Muslims, and once the Americans removed Hussein from power, the religious leaders of the two factions disagreed. Some said the American troops should leave their country immediately and permit the Iraqi people to create an Islamic state. The Bush administration wanted the Iraqis to establish a Western-style democracy which recognized minority rights. So we have an opposition and a disagreement on all parties. And as this is going on, opposition to America's occupation of Iraq grew and leads to increased violence in the form of suicide bombings and attacks by insurgents. An insurgent is one who rebels against the government. So after it becomes clear to the American people that U.S. troops wouldn't find weapons of mass destruction in Iraq and the war would drag on indefinitely, our support for the war decreased. President Bush's job approvals dropped dramatically, and eventually, with the election of Barack Obama, the senator from Illinois, who wins the 2008 presidential election, becoming the first African American to serve as president of the U.S., we're going to see, with Obama's election, a decrease of troops in Afghanistan and the withdrawal of troops from Iraq. Okay, I'm going to end that there. That's the end of Lecture 10.5D. We're going to go over most of this foreign policy stuff a great deal more in class. It's just bits and pieces the SOL pulls out from all over the place, makes it a very fractured unit, end of unit, and way to end the course. And it's just very hard to tie it all together. But we'll see what we can do to make more sense of this all in class and go through the vocab and the timeline a little better.